Hello. All right. Today's episode is pure PHP at scale, my playbook for maintainable LAMP app. So LAMP meaning Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So I've been a PHP developer now for over 12 years because I started 2013. So I have been coding PHP for a long time. Some people can say PHP is not what is reigning now. I don't care because the truth is I actually see these things as tools. I'm not really crazy about the language. I like PHP because that's what I started with. And that was what was uh quick to get the job here in Nigeria when I was learning or get projects because the first language I actually started was Java. And I could remember when I was using Java after learning Java and I was practicing Java and I was trying to get jobs. It was impossible to get projects to do using Java. It was not that free flowing. And that's what even pushed me to PHP in the first place because I figured out that most web applications were built using PHP and in Nigeria here that's where I am. That's where I can speak of. If you know how to code in PHP, you have more opportunities for freelance projects. And I was a student then. I think I was in year two at Federal University of Technology over Futo. So there is no way I can start looking for work. I learned the Java, but I had no idea how to apply it. So I had to go and learn PHP. So that was just the story. And when I learned PHP, I was now building things. It was easy to launch. It was easy to put it on platforms. It was easy to scale. Uh, Scale meaning my job, not really the project. Like I was able to get more freelance projects and expand from there. PHP is dear to me because it's a tool I actually use. I learned Python, but I was more comfortable with PHP. And sometimes when I say things like this, people don't understand it. And I also am aware of PHP's limitations, so I am not going to be the person to tell you that PHP is a perfect programming language. I'm not really sure there's a perfect programming language, but I know that PHP cannot do what Python does when it comes to machine learning and some of all these AI um, um, programming work or code base and stuff. So I'm also aware of its limitations. But as a freelance software engineer, I can proudly say that PHP has changed my life because knowing how to code in PHP, there are so many projects that I have done with PHP that work perfectly. And also, there are people that have started projects in PHP, and I had to step in and I understood what they are doing, and I had to redesign the code base and refactor it and build it into something much more modern, right? And that's because of my knowledge of PHP, right? So I've been coding this for a very long time. I'm not. I don't think there's anything really that will shock me in PHP at this stage. I've done so much using it, and I'm grateful for the language. Now, when it comes to scaling in projects with PHP, from my own experience, though, don't take this like it's a word of God, but from my own experience, uh, scaling in PHP has really nothing to do with the language itself, but more like the database. And I think that's where a lot of people get it twisted, right? Because PHP is making use of, at least to my knowledge, relational databases like MySQL. I don't think I've seen anybody use PHP and no SQL before. I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, so don't take my word for it. But almost everybody I know and all the projects I've worked on with PHP is with a relational database, either Oracle, MySQL, Postgres SQL, stuff like that. So when people talk of scaling, from my experience and from what I have seen, I think they are mostly referring to the database, not really even the language, because PHP works perfectly with as many users as you can. But the problem is always the database, like calling records. I met a friend once that told me all software applications is CRUD, no matter how you define it. And CRUD means create, read, update, delete. That is it. That all software applications is crude. No matter how complex it is crude. It's just crude. You create something into the database, you read using select, you update using update, and you delete. So author is good, but it's not really the major thing. There are so many other SQL statements. So when people are saying PHP cannot scale, from my experience, what I have actually understood is they are trying to tell you that using PHP on a relational database causes issues with as many people. Let's say you have 1 million records. How do you manage 1 million records? If 1 million people are visiting your website at once, how do you manage it? And I tend to tell people that it is not the language that is the problem. Yes, you use the language to connect a MySQL database, correct, but the problem is knowing how to optimize the database. Now, once you learn how to optimize a database, how to use index, because most people that are complaining of PHP with database and scaling, they don't even know how to use index, what that index attribute is to the columns, and how to set up a foreign key so you don't have to call all the records. I'm not even trying to shame them, because me, I fell into that trap. At the beginning, I was doing rubbish. I had no idea on database optimization. I had no idea how to make my database as fast as possible, to call it as fast as possible. I was using a voucher to do my where statements, my where conditional statements. Where conditional statements works best with ints, big ints, something indexable that you can quickly run a search through. But with text or voucher, I was using, especially text, is laughable now when I'm thinking about it. But all those little things can make your application scale faster and make it accept as many users, 10 million users at once, right? So I'm not really worried about PHP scaling. Whenever there is an issue, like when people reach out to me and tell me we have 10 million people visiting our site and it's always crashing, I already know the language is not the problem. The problem is the database. So this video, the entire video, the whole thing I just want to let everybody know from listening to me so far is pure PHP at scale has nothing to do with PHP itself. It has to do with the database, right? You have to know how to optimize your database. And that is one of the limitations I can see, because some other languages, they have some of all these optimizations and database embedded into it. So it kind of makes sense where people come from when they are trying to attack PHP in that way. But if you learn optimization of database optimization, you are going to easily scale any PHP application. In fact, right, one of the places I've learned database optimization tricks the most is on WordPress, because WordPress has kind of, well, to my knowledge, their database optimization is not that great. It's not that perfect. It still has issues. WordPress in particular. So I have built a bunch of softwares on WordPress. I'm not really a WordPress developer, but on WordPress, like connecting WordPress to custom code, right? And it dawned on me quickly, because there was a time we had about 15,000 posts on the database on a WordPress application. It's a custom app, but it's connected to WordPress, right? And the entire thing was just having issues. So most of the things I've learned on database optimization, I had to learn it because of WordPress. So because WordPress doesn't have that great optimization in the database. In fact, their whole cron jobs are kind of like, it's a whole lot. Maybe it's a video for another day. But I was learning it there, and that was when I knew the mistakes I was making, and I was able to know that PHP does not have an issue. The issue is the database optimization. So simply put, that is my playbook for maintainable LAMP apps. The playbook is always look at the database. That is it. If you build a PHP app that is not connected to a database, even if 100 million people are visiting it at once, nothing is going to happen to your project. It's going to run perfectly fine. As long as you have the hosting capabilities to handle it, your RAM, your CPU, and all those things are there. Now, if you build a PHP application connected to a database that is not properly optimized, and 100 people, 100 million people visit it at once, it is definitely going to crash. Now, there are some other things like routing, making use of cache, and all those things. But to me personally, I don't think those are the things to focus on really. The major thing to focus on is the database. Once you get the database right, you're good to go. You're good to scale as much as you want. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.